Hey guys, Captain Mike, Whiskey and Woodster coming at you tonight with the whiskey. I do both whiskey and book reviews, and tonight it's the whiskey, specifically Scotches. And which Scotch? It's all the Scotch, or all the Scotch that I have at my house anyway. And this video is in direct response to a couple comments on my recent whiskey trip report, whiskey haul video from Louisville. I appreciate all the views, all the likes, all the comments. Got a few subscribers from that, and so I appreciate all those. But a couple of the comments were in response to something that I said about American single malts. I was talking about the Jim Beam single malts and how I'm enjoying them these days. But a lot of Americans don't like the American single malts, is what I was saying, because they think they're like Scotches, which are peated. And the Scotch Army, well, two guys, and they were very nice about it, correcting me with the, telling me that Scotches, for the most part, are not actually peated whiskey. And I realized, well, I have a fairly limited Scotch experience. I have 12 Scotches at my house. I hadn't even opened 7 of them. So I opened them last night. I tried to film this video last night, but I am a pretty small YouTube channel, and I have it's a decent camera, but it's inferior and it does overheat. And I forgot to put the fan on it last night and it overheated. So I was going to redo the video last night. I just ran out of time. I had to go to work this morning. So you're losing a little bit of spontaneity because these whiskeys that I opened last night, I did taste them, a lot of them for the first time. So you're losing that on this video, but you're gaining some of the experience that I'm getting from having already tasted all these whiskeys. And so I'm going to drink these. I'm going to nose and sip all these whiskeys just to see which ones are peated. Now, of course, I did this last night, but for the most part, I remember which ones were peated and which ones were not. The whole point of this was to find out, are most of my Scotches peated or not peated? I really didn't know. And I think that if you are familiar with Scotches and you're looking at some of these bottles that I'm putting here, you know which ones are peated or which ones are not, if you are a big Scotch guy. I did not. And of these whiskeys, I had opened 5 of them. We're going to go through all of them, and we're going to go in the order from the priciest to the least expensive of the Scotches. I'll let you know which ones I had opened before and which ones I tasted for the very first time last night. And what do you think? Do you think most of these are peated or not? And anyway, let's go to it. MacCallan 15. I'm going to tell you why I bought these bottles, how much I paid for them, what the ABV is, which region in Scotland they are from, and whether I knew or thought they were peated beforehand. So the first bottle of Scotch that I ever purchased was the MacCallan 12 double cask. This is the MacCallan 15. I've had 3 bottles of the MacCallan 12. I wanted the 15, so I picked it up. I paid $144.99 for this bottle. I opened it for the first time last night. It's a Highland single malt, 43 ABV. Double cask, it says, 15 years old. I had this last night and I think it was a great whiskey. How about you? Do you like the MacCallans? Now, for some people, 12 Scotches is a lot. And it's about 8% of my total bottles in my house right now. And I have a friend who just drinks Evan Williams. There's no Scotch at his house. I have a friend, he's a big Jim Beam fan, and his wife's from Kentucky. So do you think there's any Scotch in their house? No way. I do have a coworker, just worked with him today, and he's a big MacCallan fan. And he kind of suggested this to me. I'd already bought it, but he was like, you gotta get the MacCallan 15. And I was like, I do have it already. We worked together today, and I said I opened this last night, and he was like, oh, how was it? I was like, well, I took a very, very small pour, but I really liked it. And I think if you're new into Scotches, and I think this maybe was part of my problem, I wasn't distinguishing smoky whiskeys from peaty whiskeys. And once you get to the Ardbeg and the Islay Scotches, then you really understand what peat is versus smoke. But if you don't experience those, am I right or wrong that you could actually think, okay, this smoky, maybe that smoke's that's the peat, but it's not. And this MacCallan, it's a really nice nose. It's got that smoky note on it, but it's a elegant smoke. Is that a possible? It's not necessarily a campfire smoke. It's really, really nice. And that's not a peated whiskey. MacCallan 15, 144 bucks. I think that's twice as much as the 12-year which we had, which was a great whiskey. I had these out of order. So I bought this Longmorn recently just because I liked the box, which I think is an okay reason to buy a whiskey. I mean, look at this clamshell box. I mean, how cool was that? I couldn't pass it up, so I bought it. I paid $124.99 for this Longmorn, and I think it's a nice, beautiful bottle. It has this fake leather. I think all whiskey bottles should have this on the bottom. It just makes it look more elegant and rich and nice. It's a beautiful shape. See, $124.99. Let's read the specs and stats on this. I just opened this for the first time last night. It's a Speyside Scotch single malt, and they're all single malts except the Johnnie Walker Double Black. Aged 16 years, non-chill filtered. 3 types of oak cask for a rich and complex flavor. 48 ABV. And then just the legalese on the back. Beautiful bottle. I remember this from last night. And there's a soft underlying peat note. A hint of smoke. It's much more subtle than the MacCallan. Just a hint of that smoke. But there it is. There's that peat. Wow, that peat is much more noticeable on the palate than the nose. But Longmorn, 16 years, Speyside. So are all Speyside whiskeys peated? I mean, I feel like Islay Scotches, for the most part, are peated from what I understand. Speyside, I don't really know. But that definitely is one. Now the Glenmorangie, if I'm saying these wrong, I apologize. I have 2 bottles, the 15 and the 14. Opened these again for the first time last night. You can see I just, very, very small pour, hardly anything out of it. I just bought these because the bottles look nice and I was trying to get more Scotches in my house. Glenmorangie 15-year Cadball Estate Highland Single Malt Scotch. Matured in American oak bourbon casks. 43 ABV. It's a really nice pop on that bottle. And I remember this one from last night as well. And I will, spoiler alert, this was my favorite whiskey from last night. What a nice nose. It's bright and airy. Some citrus in there. I don't get any smoke on the nose. Oh wait, maybe just a hint. Man, it's just such a small amount. But I get this citrus bright note. It's an elegant nose. What a nice palate. It's rich and creamy, some oak on there and everything just beautiful. This Glenmorangie 15, that was from last night, my favorite sip. Ardbeg. Do I even need to taste the Ardbeg? I bought this bottle because I watched another whiskey channel and I can't think of who they are, but I think they're very Scotch and Irish whiskey forward in that channel. They do bourbons and all sort of stuff as well. But they mentioned how awesome the Ardbeg Uigeadail is, and if I say that wrong, again, I apologize. So I picked this up for, and I'm sorry, the Glenmorangie 15 was $89.99. This Ardbeg is $76.22, kind of a weird number. Ardbeg Uigeadail, it's an Islay single malt, non-chill filtered. 54.2 ABV, so the highest ABV of all my whiskeys here tonight. Beautiful bottle, like the darkness, and just some stats about it. But we know the Ardbeg. We know. I can smell it already. This is the Mike Tyson of Islay Scotches. This is a peat punch to the face. Just that nose, it's just, bam, overwhelming peat. There's no mistaking the peatiness of the Ardbeg Uigeadail. And I don't know if I'd like it, to be honest with you. I'm not really turned off by it, but man, do I really, really appreciate that. Oh. Wow. Man. All right, we're gonna have some water after that one. If this is your first sip of Scotch whiskey ever, you're probably never gonna drink another Scotch. This is not for the tame of heart. I'm about almost halfway through the bottle, and I'm still trying to figure out, do I like the Ardbeg? How about you? Have you had the Ardbeg Uigeadail? If you're thinking about going into Scotches, you think you want to try, you think you just want to jump in feet first, be my guest. Drop 76 bucks on Ardbeg Uigeadail, and I'm interested if you like it or not. It is very, very, very peat forward. Okay, Balvenie. I bought this whiskey because my son was at his girlfriend's father's house, and he reported to me that he really liked the Balvenie Caribbean Cask 14 year. I was headed to the whiskey store that evening, so I picked up a bottle. It's $74.99 for this Balvenie Caribbean Cask rum, 14 years. Rich, sweet, creamy, toffee, fruits, vanilla, oak, fruitiness, warm, soft, lingering. No hint on where it's at. Dufftown. Okay. Balvenie. I don't remember this one being peated. It's a nice nose. It's sweet. Get that rum, some molasses. It's a little subtle. I don't get any smoke on it. Maybe a hint, but no peat. Wow, that is very different than all the other Scotches I've had so far. But I like the Balvenie Caribbean Cask. It's very, very good. Definitely not peated. So far we have peated. So 2 out of the first 5 are peated whiskeys. Now we're going to go to another Islay Scotch. So I bought this whiskey because I had the Ardbeg Uigeadail and I wanted to try another Islay Scotch. I hadn't opened it until last night. It sat on the shelf for a couple of months waiting to be tried. I paid $68.99 for this bottle, and it's an Islay Scotch. So are all Islay Scotches peated? I think I asked that earlier. But let me know. I mean, the 2 that I've had, Laphroaig, quarter cask, Islay single malt. I don't see an age statement on here anywhere. This is 48 ABV. The perfect marriage of peat and oak. Smaller aging barrels. Yeah, I don't see any age statement on this bottle. Laphroaig, quarter cask, peat and oak. Okay, yeah. So it's peatier than the Longmorn, but it's less than the Uigeadail. The Uigeadail is just, like I said, a punch to the face. This is a nice, like a flyweight. I don't know any flyweight boxer names, but this would be a flyweight punch to the face. Whoa, okay. The nose is a lot more subtle than the Ardbeg, but on the palate, it also is just overwhelming peat. Oh man. It's a different flavor than the Ardbeg. The 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. Okay. That is actually a lot more subtle than the Ardbeg. Wow, the Ardbeg is just overwhelming. Okay, so now we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of my Scotches, and 3 of them are peated. Okay, Highland Park. Interesting enough about this bottle, this is my second bottle of Highland Park. Well, the first bottle I didn't pay for because I was in line at the liquor store and I had a Monster in one hand, a bottle of whiskey in one hand, and this was in, or a different bottle of this was in the box. And the Powerball was an immense amount this day, and people were in line waiting to buy Powerball tickets. And that box of the bottle of Highland Park slid right out of the top of the box, right on the floor, just broke everywhere. The clerk was not very happy with me. He was actually slightly angry with me. What can I do? $61.49 for this bottle. Highland Park 12. Viking Honor, 43 ABV. Sweetness, fruitcake, smoky peat. Highland Park Distillery, Orkney Islands, Scotland. I don't know Orkney Islands. And interestingly enough too, I was just in Reykjavik, Iceland, and doing a distillery tour and the Eimverk distillery. And it's very Viking forward, that whole culture there. And he was talking about this whiskey specifically, that there are some roots to the Vikings in this. And I think you can tell it by the bottle. I think it's a really nice looking bottle. I don't remember this being an overwhelmingly awesome whiskey last night. We'll see how I feel about it tonight. I do think it's a great looking bottle. It's very different than all the other Scotch bottles. I mean, they're not all exactly the same, but this certainly stands out in this crowd here. All right, Viking Honor. Just an underlying soft peat, some smoke right there. But everything is just, it's so much more calm, again, than the Ardbeg. Again, I think in all the peated whiskeys, the palate doesn't match the nose, except the Ardbeg. I mean, the nose is just a blast, and the palate is a punch of peat. I feel like the other 3, the nose was more subtle on the peat, but the palate was just overwhelmingly peat. And I think that's the same with this Viking Honor from Highland Park. It's still more subtle even on the peat, on the palate, than the other 3, but definitely peated whiskey. I don't think it's a great whiskey, but it's okay. I paid $61.99 for that. All right, the Oban Little Bay. So I bought this just a couple of weeks ago because I thought it was just so pretty. I liked the colors. Maybe I just come from the beach or something, and this, this little bay, so it was making me think about the beach, and it's just beautiful colors. And I was like, oh, I just like it so much. So I bought it. I paid $60.99 for it. Oban Little Bay single malt from West Highland. So is West Highland that distinct from Highland? I mean, I know that in Scotch whiskeys they have different locations, and maybe there's regional differences. They're all kind of the same in those regions. I don't know. West Highland small cask, 43 ABV. No age statement on this one as well. How many more do we have? 5 more. Oban Little Bay. Just has the colors like the ocean and the light sky from the beach. It's a different nose than the other Scotches that I've had tonight. It's just more light and airy. I don't get any smoke at all. Well, maybe. No, I don't feel like I'm not catching any smoke on that. It's more just bright and airy. Okay, there's some smoke on the palate. I didn't really catch that on the nose. Maybe just a touch of it. A little bit of smoke it just reminds me of just sitting there on the beach and watching the sun and the waves and the seagulls. It's a nice little pour. Another Glenmorangie. I had this last night, of course, and I didn't catch any peat last night, like the Glenmorangie 15. I remember it not being as good as the Glenmorangie 15. And if I'm butchering that name, again, I apologize. La Quinta Reuben, Highland Single Malt Scotch, Port Cask finish, aged in American Oak, Bourbon Cask, finished in fine rum port casks. 46 ABV, 14 years. Nice color. I love the green. Must be Glenmorangie's bottle. It's the same exact bottle. It looks really nice. I was just at Maker's Mark last week, and they were talking about how they send their bottles over to Scotland, and they're used to age Scotch in, and then they're sent down after. And I think he was saying that Maker's Mark cask, don't quote me on this, I think he was saying it goes to Laphroaig, but don't quote me on that exactly. And then he said after they get done aging Laphroaig, or whichever Scotch it is, they are sent down to somewhere and they're aged, then they're used for rum barrels as well. So anyway, Glenmorangie 14. That's a nice pour. It is a pale shadow of the 15 though. I mean, it's some different notes. I get that port on there, but it's just weak compared to the 15. The 15 is just excellent. And it's funny because this is 15, 14, way better than the 14. This Glenlivet 14 I bought after I finished a bottle of Glenlivet 15, which I thought was an excellent whiskey. And this was about half the price of the 15, and it's about half as good as the 15. I've not fully appreciated the 14. I mean, it's not a bad pour, but I think after having the Glenlivet 15, it just pales in comparison. I paid $57.99 for the Glenmorangie 14. I paid $49.99 for the Glenlivet 14. Single malt Scotch, cognac cask selection. Let's see, 40 ABV, so barely a whiskey. I think they make nice looking bottles. I like the little medallion there. Okay, Glenlivet 14. I'm pretty sure this is not peated. Cognac, huh? I don't drink a lot of, I can't say I've ever had any cognac. Hennessy? Hennessy's cognac? Wow, that's bright. It has a really, really sweet and nice note to it. Maybe that's the cognac, but I haven't had cognac, so I guess I don't know. It's a really nice nose, though. It's nice. It's a nice pour. I just remember it not being as good as the 15. So not peated as well. So far we've done 10 Scotches and 1, 2, 3, 4 have been peated. Okay, Grangestone. I paid $37.99 for this bottle. I bought it, I don't think for any real reason other than I saw it on the shelf, and it's a Madeira cask finish, so I bought it. Double maturation, first stage American oak, second stage Madeira cask, 40 ABV. I think it's a nice looking bottle, just kind of squat and there. I don't think there was an age statement on there. And it is a Highland single malt. And no age statement, non-age stated, so Grangestone. I think I remember this one not being peated as well. Wow, sweet. I feel like red, sweet wine. underlying that Scotch note. I'm not catching any smoke on the nose. Or maybe there was just a hint as I was going in there, just a hint of smoke. That's an okay pour. Grangestone, 37 bucks. A little smoke there on the finish there. Definitely some Madeira notes, a sweet whiskey. Okay, and our last guy here, Johnnie Walker Double Black. I just finished a bottle of Johnnie Walker Black. So the only Scotch whiskey I've had at my house where I've finished a bottle, I've had 3 MacCallan 12s. I finished a Johnnie Walker Black. I had the Glenlivet 15. And I'm pretty sure those were the only Scotches that I've had at my house that I finished. I've had Scotch at other places, and on cruises and at bars. And this is the only Scotch with a screw top out of this collection. It's the only square bottle. And it's the only blended whiskey. And non-age stated. Blended Scotch whiskey and intense smoky blend. Matured in deep charred old oak casks. 40 ABV. All the legalese back here, nothing interesting. Just a different looking bottle than all the other Scotches. Let's go in. I heard good things about the Double Black. That's why I picked it up. I had the black before, I actually had the 175. Not a huge fan of it, and I just kind of pounded through that bottle. And definitely a peated whiskey, a peated blended Scotch. Again, just kind of light peat on the nose, and actually as it was finishing, more and more peat coming through and becoming more apparent. It was just kind of light peat initially, and it just increased as it was finishing. So, but still more subtle than the other peated whiskeys that I've had tonight. So the whole point of this exercise was to taste all the Scotches that I had. And I understand that I don't have all the Scotches. These are just the ones I happen to have at my house. And I wanted to see, in response to the comments that I had on my whiskey haul video, are most of my Scotches peated? So the ones I had open before tonight, the Ardbeg Uigeadail, the Balvenie rum cask finished, the Highland Park 12, the Glenlivet 14, the Grangestone, and I had finished a couple of MacCallan 12s and a Johnnie Walker Black. And those are the only ones I had opened before last night. So of these 12 whiskeys, one, the Longmorn, the Ardbeg, of course, the king of peated whiskeys, the Laphroaig, another Islay Scotch, Highland Park, Viking Honor, and Johnnie Walker Double Black. So we have, of my 12 whiskeys in my house, my Scotches, my Scotch, 7 of them are not peated, 5 of them are. So, well, yes, the majority of my Scotch whiskeys are not peated. I mean, 5 out of 7. So you guys are correct. Most Scotches in my house are not peated. But do you know, like on average, like in general, what percentage of Scotch whiskey is peated? Honestly, I don't know. This is something I'm gonna have to look up and see. If you know, feel free to comment below. What do you think? Do you like peated Scotch? I'm still trying to figure out, do I like it? I'm not totally turned off by it. The Ardbeg is a punch in the face. This is a lot of peat. You're just drinking peat. It's that earthy, peaty on the nose, on the palate, on the finish. You know, half an hour later, you're still tasting that peat. It's more subtle here, and I don't dislike it, but I'm still trying to learn. It's been 5 years that I've been drinking whiskey now, and I've not drank a lot of scotches. So I appreciate the comments and educating me and all the things that I've learned from all my viewers and all the YouTubes that I've watched. So let's see, my favorite whiskey was this one right here. Well, it's almost gone. Let's do another pour of the Glenmorangie 15. Guys, I hope you are reading something good tonight and drinking something great. Turn the pages, my friends, and stay thirsty. Cheers.